Hi and welcome back to my channel. It's been a while. I want to look at my hairstyles and the hairstyles I've put on top of my hair. This topic connects with me on a personal level because as a black woman, the factors that determine how others and I interpret my identity raises a number of questions. Hopefully this video will be helpful for us black women that need to combat those questions about our hair and just general navigation through life, basically. Understanding why we mess with our hair so much and having some answers maybe and not getting upset when, pushed with those harsh questions. Okay, so the focus will be placed on the areas of politics, gender, representation and how these factors influence black women and our hair. When concentrating on the historical perspective of how many different strands, economic, political and psychological, have been woven into our concepts of black hair, it leads to the belief that hair itself may not be the issue. So, let's talk about black women and our hair. So to begin, I want to take you back to slavery. It was believed that black women were known to have to cover up their hair and keep it short. I'm not sure if this is correct, but from these images it stands true. And yeah, if we fast forward to today, if we look at hair salons in the UK and in the USA, hair salons are divided into those catering for white, African, Caribbean and Asian clientele. The salon reflects and reinforces divisions along gender, ethnicity and class lines. It will tailor to services and prices to the socio-economic status of its customers, and in a way that explains why black women make judgments based on the value of each other's hairstyles, if you think about it. And here we have the first lovely lady to grace the cover of Vogue. Her name is Danielle Luna. And gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous as you can see, but her features, I wouldn't say represent black women as a whole. And if we move on to the first black issue, maybe the only black issue of Vogue, I think it's Vogue Italia 2008. Again, beautiful women, but all very European looking in terms of their feet, the bone structure, skin complexion, yeah. Hair, nose, questionable. And speaking of the media, does the media create stereotypes of black women and that they should be viewed in a certain light? Is this light viewed as negatively? How does the relationship between the media images and black women and their identity change? I suggest you ask yourself these questions while you look at these array of pictures clearly displaying prejudice, stereotype amongst other sins against black people. It's such a shame. However realistic or plausible media images may seem, they are never simply present and show how the world actually is. They are always a construction, a representation, not a transparent window onto the real. The media heavily influences the exposure of black youth, popular culture in this current era, which can be really problematic. Seeking individualism cannot be obtained with a force such as the media, reconstructing our perceptions of others. It's just a bad idea. As I said earlier, the media is not what we think it is, and in today's age we heavily rely on the media for validation and popularity and trends and identity. It's just ridiculous. So, time to go a little deeper and look at some of the reasons aside from conditioning. And no, I don't mean the hair treatment. Now, to kick things off, I want to look at society and the media's push for perfection, how they influence us to be perfect. And if we look at this image here, here's a perfect example of, well, the title says it all. Looking good is everything. Now, to understand how this beauty craze all began for black women, It was by a lady named Madam C.J. Walker and another lady, Annie Malone, from the USA. They were the first millionairesses, is that how you say it? And they created the first concept of a black hair salon, hair straightening procedures. And this was at a time when black women began to wear shorter hairstyles, where the strict maintenance of cutting the hair portrayed their wealth. Their motivations could have stemmed from the recent adjustment in women's rights with employment, and also this newly found entrepreneurship attitude and black rights, I guess. This new form of labour was a lot easier than the previous work of being maids and helpers, let's be honest. Basically, Madam C.J. Walker, she clarifies the contemporary black woman's engagement with today's beauty culture, which is that white superiority is still being echoed throughout Western history till today. And the black people within, we're practically being forced to produce and sell beauty products for the black female market. Take a look at these series of images spanning from 1910 till today. Or advertisements, beauty advertisements, sorry. Or beautiful white women reminding us of our goal. But this issue spans further, much further than just black women. This is affecting the Asian community in terms of the shade of their skin, the lightness in particular, you know, the shape of their eyes, the type of makeup they apply. And even with white women within their own kind, they face issues in terms of weight, you know, blonde or redhead. Hair extensions as well, hair volume is another factor, and the masculinity attached to hair shaving as well. So, interesting. When we look at the it look of today, it seems to be whatever's on social media, whatever's trending and popular on social media. And fair enough, there's no harm in that. But in saying that, youth is a cultural and social construction which shifts and changes. Youth culture is always in opposition to something and can only be understood in relation to mainstream. So in saying that, it clearly shows that to go against the expected is still kind of expected. Moving on to the next factor for black women and why we do what we do with our hair is manageability. And yes, some say it's just an excuse, so I thought I'd break it down. Let's first look at protective styles, like braids, you know, whether they're cane rolls, single plaits, twists. They tend to, you know, not cause too much stress on the hair, keep it away. You moisturise it, wrap it up in whatever you want, even if you don't add extension necessarily, it's just braiding is one form of managing your hair. And another protective style, surprise, surprise, are wigs. Think about it, you do whatever you want to your hair underneath, keep it away, and then you put something else on top that you can style, put heat on, dye, etc. without having to do anything to your actual hair. Another way that black women tend to manage their hair so that it's easier to comb through and style, etc. is straightening. I'm not so sure about this one because it's definitely not a protective style. You can straighten your hair using relaxer creams, and another form of straightening your hair is using a straightener, obviously. Yeah, that's all I have to say on that maintenance procedure. I'm not happy about it. So, next one, hair products. These products can be amazing or a nightmare in terms of manageability, but again, if you find the right product for your hair, it can be heaven sent. So yeah, not much to say on hair products really, just touching on it in terms of what's utilised, basically, in terms of reasons why women do what they do with their hair, and I will explain later on why I've included all these different subjects. To end this section on manageability, I'm going to talk about an area that's not really touched on in terms of black women and our hair, and that's senior black women. They understand hair in a different context, I believe. It's not so much about the intersection of race and gender shaping their hair experiences, but it's age. You know, she's at a point in her life when her hair is thinning, and she's only thinking about manageability rather than its political stance. Also, you know, the era that she grew up in, it involved the invention of straightening procedures, or it was still a very new thing. And overall, it was seen as a positive political step for black people, or black women. A practice such as a black woman dyeing her hair can have a variety of social preconceptions, but what are sometimes overlooked are an older black woman's experiences. If an older black woman dyes her hair, she cares about looking youthful. If she dyes it badly, she cares too much. It's pathetic and unbecoming. If she doesn't dye it at all, she's given up or treated much older than she actually is. So, yeah, I thought I'd definitely give a shout out to those lovely mature black women out there and their place in all of this. It's a nightmare for all of us, I tell you. Now let's look at versatility, because after all, variety is the spice of life. Hair and grooming have always played an important role in the culture of Africa and the African diaspora. In many African societies, ancient and modern, the hair comb symbolises status, group affiliation and religious beliefs, and it is encoded with ritual properties. Hair is rarely left to grow naturally. It's often plaited or braided, using weaving techniques to produce a rich variety of sometimes highly elaborate styles that are reminiscent of patternings of African cloth and the decorative designs of African ceramics, architecture and embroidery. Underlying these practices is what might be deemed as an African aesthetic even. So messing with your hair is culture, it's tradition, it's natural. Looking at all of these images going back over the years, it's always been the case that versatility gives us a voice. It shows a sense of adventure, you know, being creative. Hell, it's just our identity, who we're trying to say we are, the mood we're in, the place we are in life at that time. And I think it's beautiful, all through a hairstyle. Today, I find that the queen of versatility is wigs. And that makes absolute sense because we live in an age of everything being fast. I want it now. Instant style. And yeah, I'm a wig wearer and we'll leave it at that. So in closing for this section on versatility, I thought I'd just touch on things like hair shows and just the beauty in versatility and what can be done. And yeah, it's a bit arty, but I thought, hey, why not? Okay, so I've covered all the factors now as to the reasons for why black women do what they do with their hair, which is conditioning, as I said, not the hair treatment, manageability, versatility, and of course, what society and the media tells us is the it factor. Now I want to talk about the backlash, the questions, the finger pointing, the accusations, the judgments, and if we're not anything but this representation of what an African empress princess should be, we have problems. You know, the usual questions of why? What are you trying to do? Are you trying to be white? Oh, she hates herself, or she's a sellout, or another favourite of mine, bedwench. Is there any way to have some sort of harmonious balance where a black woman's essence can fit in with beauty standards of today? A real area of concern for me is black women's relationships amongst each other, you know, and our hair. It's how it connects to our ego, and it's an interesting point. Mr. Marcus Garvey, God bless you, had always acknowledged that racism and even sexism works by encouraging the devaluation of blackness by black subjects themselves. It's been stated by someone out there that despite the rhetoric that women dress to please men, other evidence suggests that women primarily dress to please other women. So how black women treat each other matters here. Yeah, black women can be a bit nasty to each other. And in particular, I've got to discuss the natural crew. Yes, you guys. You've got to stop being so hard on women that wear weaves and straighten their hair, etc. Because what is natural? And I will touch on that later. We need to just embrace each other for the issues we have, the real issues, and just get over ourselves. But hopefully I've explained why we have these issues. Good old Marcus Garvey. Also, the fact that women are more interested in pleasing each other than the partners they're seeking. But hey, so's life. Another bit of backlash that black women face, not so much these days, but still worth mentioning, is black women cutting their hair. A black woman with short, shaved hair could be seen as masculine and unattractive to a black man, and also to the rest of society, to be honest. Her short hair goes against the ideals of a woman and the expectations of a black woman. The belief system of feminism is that gender is performative. So in saying that, black women's hair and how it shapes constructions of femininity gives an insight into gender and race, and how they are among the most important daily issues black women face, then and now. What really surprised me was learning about churches having a say in black women and their hair. Going as far back as Madam C.J. Walker, black church ministers led attacks against her, accusing her of going against God's natural design. And another interesting comment came from a film called Good Hair, came out in 2009, made by Chris Rock. And Reverend Al Sharpton questioned, how can black women move away from slavery if they are attaching it to the back of their heads every morning? And I found it interesting that he asked that question, given that his hair is stuck to his scalp. Just like many other judged black women out there that are trying to figure life out through their hairstyle. It was just inappropriate, and yeah, the backlash needs to stop, I think. Now that we've looked at all the variety of hairstyles a black woman can attain, I thought it was important to ask, what is a black hairstyle? So, the afro and dreadlocks are deemed two of the most black hairstyles achievable, with the afro being linked to Africa and the dreadlocks, they're linked to the Caribbean. And of course, these hairstyles have distinct links to black diasporas, so that's why they're favoured, to show blackness. So if we look at dreadlocks in particular, they embody an interpretation of a religious belief that forbids the cutting of hair. And the afro and its naturalness, again with open quotations, it consisted in its rejection both of straightened styles and of short haircuts. Its distinguishing features was the length of the hair, and the roundness of the shape of the afro signified its links with black pride. It was like an oppositional stance against artificial techniques of any kind and of any element of imitating Eurocentric, white-identified aesthetics, basically. But the afro may have represented being black and proud, but these rebels may have just wanted to do whatever suited their individual needs. Using a hairstyle to express political awareness tends to prioritise self over society. It can be seen that the journey of self-discovery can be difficult when you're also having to adjust to society's requirements. It's the old question of, is it possible to be equal and individual at the same time? Even today, modern hairstyles on young girls seem to have an essence of our history. Combinations of cane roll and curly perm echo Egyptian imagery. She looks like Nefertiti, but this is London, nowhere near the Nile. And these little essences, if I can call it that take us back, I feel is what kind of upsets black people with this whole cultural appropriation thing. Non-black people having black styles, and yeah, it's a bit of a nightmare, and I think the issue lies in not understanding the history, the purpose. They might as well be playing dress up like this. And yeah, I think it's the burden that black women carry with our hair, alongside non-black women who have our hairstyle, not understanding the connotations that come with it. It's that simple. If you don't understand by now why black women do all the things they do to their hair, rewatch the video. And if you don't understand why black people get upset at you culturally appropriating our hairstyles, even given the weaves and the wigs, etc., rewatch the video. So, just acknowledge that black people of the African diaspora have developed distinct, if not unique, patterns of style across a range of practices from music, speech, dance, dress, and even cookery. Black hairstyling may be evaluated as a popular art form, articulating a variety of aesthetic solutions to a range of problems created by ideologies of race and racism. And one of those problems I find is these Black Beauty Expos. All a variety of women with different looks, but all representing a powerful black woman that's achieved a lot and is successful. It's pretty confusing, isn't it? The thing is, black women's hair is always shaped or reshaped by social convention and symbolic intervention, not to mention the exploitative priorities of black hairdressing industry. I mean, what is natural anyway? What is natural hair? The hair seems to be a natural aspect of the body, yet it's never a straightforward biological fact because it's almost always groomed, prepared, cut, concealed, and generally worked upon by human hands. So this would imply that in its natural given state, black people's hair has no inherent aesthetic value. It has to be worked upon before it can be seen as beautiful. Class, race, and era play a big part in how black women view themselves as we transgress through the ages. Examples of this can be the African tribes of historical knowledge and their practices, or Madam C.J. Walker's discovery of a black beauty industry, or the 1960s, 70s Afro versus the meaning of a trendy Afro today. And then there's black women's 1980s Big Dallas hair versus the street-styled look using braids of that period. And if you look at today, we have the Instagram model movement and its connections with music artists like Nicki Minaj and Cardi B and all the materialistic prejudice attached. Oh, let's not forget the narcissistic prejudice too. With all the various hair practices of all races and ethnicities, it's vital to recognise that beauty is what brings us together. Why does beauty matter? Well, it reminds us that enjoyment of mere pleasure is an important element of our humanity, and it knits the mind and body together at a time when they seem all too easily divided. Black women's hair not only defines who they are as a black individual, but also who they are as an individual. It has been discussed that a black woman's hair choices are a natural being, and therefore they can't only be about imitating European features, or black women with straight and extended or cut hair, they're not suffering from a diseased state of black consciousness. That's my point. The question that's always asked is, where does a black woman's hair lie on a scale of practicality or vanity? But the real honest question should be, a black woman's personal relationship with her hair. Is it a good relationship or a bad one? Because I've yet to see anything in between. Thanks for watching Just Be. Please subscribe, like if you like, click the bell for more videos, and please comment, because what you have to say is so important with what I'm trying to do here, and you will inspire my future videos, trust me. And follow me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter and Gmail, and let's keep this conversation flowing. Peace.